Good morning, everybody. Martin Cowan, contributing editor of tnoozLIVE here. We're doing tnoozLIVE at TTE. Thanks for making the effort to join us this morning. I'm here with Tony Barker, CEO of Paxport. He's come all the way over from Stockholm to be with us. Well, not with us, with TTE, obviously. So Tony, just explain what Paxport is, what you do.
Yep. Paxport originally came from Scandinavia, processing bookings for the charter industry, which allowed companies to not use expensive reservation systems. Over time, we did a lot more on the ancillary services, so we developed what we call Pax shops that offer services to customers. 2 years ago, we acquired a company called Multicom, which is quite well known in the UK for its aggregation. And we've synergized and put those two companies together. So we're very much focusing on ancillaries, selling of ancillary services, NDC, because that's a way that we can get fares and also sell rich content from the carriers. And also we have a PaxPay service, which is allowing virtual cards to be used in a much more dynamic way, which has a number of benefits for customers.
Okay, so we're here at Travel Technology Europe. So clearly there's a lot of buzzwords, buzz phrases, mot de jour, knocking around. You mentioned one there that is a bit more historic, rich content.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's your take on rich content? What do you mean by that?
Most suppliers have some form of rich content, which is not their core service or product. So take an airline, it's all the baggage, the meals, the choice of seating, and other services that's flight related. So what they're not very good at is actually selling those services in different sales channels. So typically a carrier will probably sell 30% of their content through their website, and then the other 70% goes through other channels, which they're not very good at selling. So if you look at it from a business perspective, these conversion levels are quite low. They're commonly in the region of 6%. Whereas if you actively sell and offer them to customers, you can get conversions of 25-30%, which then means that you're adding probably another 3 to 4 euros per passenger onto your revenue, and quite commonly onto your profit bottom line.
Okay, and that's additional revenue from the rich content that's owned by the airline. I mean, what about the non-airline owned ancillary rich content, such as hotels, insurance?
Exactly. So again, passengers or travellers, if they're using a hotel, the rich content that a hotel can provide is not that well sold. And you can look at that from a statistical point of view and see the conversions, how they're exposed. And we know now from experience in Scandinavia, if you have different touch points with customers, you will get a much better conversion level. And if you offer it rather than the customer having to search for that service, then you obviously get much better conversion. It's a bit like the analogy with a shop. A supermarket will put their basic goods at the back because you have to go through there and you'll pick up extra goods. So when I go to IKEA, I think I'm going to spend £30. I've probably spent £150 because you pick up all these extra bits that it's convenient to pick up.
Okay, but they have to be, marketed.
They do, yeah.
Merchandised correctly.
No, you can't. No. So a lot of the time we talk about carriers. They've got a lot of rich content, but they've put it in a warehouse, and nobody's got the key to get the warehouse open. And this is what NDC can enable them to do, is actually to offer that rich content in those different channels in a much more attractive way, like visualization content. The airline business is built around a 3-letter code, a 4-letter code of what a veggie meal is, which is not a very sexy way for you to choose a meal in a 3-letter code. So this is how they've got to start thinking in a more of a retail perspective and actually dynamically offer these services. And that can be, as you say, the hotels or different suppliers who are providing services when you're traveling. So it could be transfer, insurance and extra services and local services as well.
Okay, so if we're thinking in terms of sort of like common phrases, I mean, you've mentioned NDC a couple of times. A couple of years ago at TTE Europe and every travel tech event around the globe, NDC was everywhere. It was almost like an NDC event. It seems to have sort of subsumed slightly, maybe more as people just accept that it's going to happen and that it is happening. I mean, what's your take on how NDC has developed, and where do you think it might go?
I think NDC will develop, of course. The issue that a lot of people don't really understand from a reseller point of view, and also from a supplier, i.e. a carrier, is the opportunity that gives. NDC is an XML format, which means the carrier can actually distribute their fare content in a much cheaper fashion. And carriers are very cost conscious, so they get all excited about that, which is great. But what they don't focus on is actually saying, well, I can also transmit and offer my rich content to all these other parties, and that's where we're trying to differentiate. We're saying, yeah, we can do NDC. I mean, there's a lot of tech companies doing NDC, but also what we can do is try and help the carrier to sell more of what they've got. So it's a bit like you've got a shop and you're only selling half your goods. You've turned the lights off. So, and this is what they're not focusing on. I think Lufthansa have quite a good strategy in terms of the direct connect. We're connecting with, we just connected with British Airways now, and we're talking to them about offering ancillaries, but that's sort of not their key focus. People should realise that this can create another significant revenue stream for them as a company. So it's.
I like the, sorry to interrupt, but I just like your referencing of shops as an analogy, and another, I don't know if it's a buzzword or a buzz phrase, but this whole idea around the Amazon of travel, the whole idea that every travel company just wants to be Amazon. I mean, is that something that you aspire to provide for your customers, or is there a better way of looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, I try and use the analogy of the petrol station, because I think that sort of identifies a bit more clearly what the opportunities are. 30 years ago, I was working in a petrol station, well, probably 40 years now, but and I was selling, packet of crisps and cigarettes. But now, if my kids go in with me, I've suddenly spent £40 on sweets, bread and all this sort of thing. This is where they make the money, not on the petrol. So if you think of a carrier, the basic fare is a commodity price now. It's and we've got OTAs and everything. The consumer can really see the accuracy of the price and get the best price for the route. But what the carrier needs to focus on is developing that shop as the petrol station. That's where they'll make the money, and those are the companies that will survive as carriers, because you either have to have size, the Ryanairs or whatever, where you're processing millions and millions of people so you can get your economies of scale, or you've got to sort of really start to offer the rich content, the services that customers want. And I think over time, we're seeing that people are choosing much more on the quality of the flight, and they're becoming a bit more loyal. They want it to be a bit more convenient. They would like an easier check-in. They'd like a time of flight when you're not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it's convenient for you. So I think we're seeing that people are paying a bit more for that convenience. And we know from experience in Scandinavia that people do pay a premium for the choice of seating, for the meals, if it's offered to them. We have certain Thai flights that we sell a big chunk of the plane. People are just choosing, and it's not a special seat, but people want to know. They like to get things sorted out. So I mean, we do add a lot of revenue to some of our customers, and I mean, a few of our customers, we're roughly 50% of the profit. So without these ancillary services, without the pre-orders, without all these extras, you'd be running a basic carrier, which you're bumping along at zero profit, depending on the price of fuel. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is all great. I mean, I think that whole idea around the lowest price is almost like an old concept. People want the best price, and I say on the rare occasions when I do leisure travel, I'm looking for the best price. It's not necessarily the lowest price. There's a whole sort of door-to-door cost that I have to factor in. So, so if we've looked at the Amazon of travel, NDC, other buzzwords. I mean, if we were to sit down in 2 years' time, what buzzwords do you think might be
Well, I think
discussed now that we're not currently?
I think it's personalisation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and those are all the things that we're working on now. You can't go, a traveller, they're getting very streetwise now. They're very mobile orientated. They want things offered to them in the right time at the right place. They don't want a long list of things that they can choose from. They want the things that is relevant to them. So we're working on the personalisation. So it's not just the challenge at the moment, because the travel industry is a very clunky legacy-orientated business. The challenge is to get all of these things to connect properly and work all the time. And now we are working on the personalisation. So we want to make sure it's offered, and we're also, it's taking a long time for the industry to understand.
They're
not retailers.
I mean, we've been working with Travel Technology Europe as their media partner, and a lot of the pre-show work we've been doing is based around AI and machine learning, and some of the stuff that's happening is sort of really clever and business critical. Okay, well listen, that's our time done for now, so we can talk afterwards. So thanks, Tony Barker, CEO of Paxport. Okay, we're going to just disappear for a short while. We'll be back soon. Thanks for making the effort. Thanks to CodeGen and OTA Insight for sponsoring, making this TTE Live, tnoozLIVE at TTE possible. See you all shortly. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.